Hi, I'm Bob Dixon. Welcome to the Leader's Edge Hot Takes edition of the Five Eagles Insight Podcast. For over 3 decades, I served in the military as an engineer and as a strategist, and I learned a few things about leadership. We know that it goes beyond theory. It's about real-world application. So in this series, sponsored by Five Eagles Leadership, we feature industry leaders and share their leadership journeys with you. My mission's simple. It's to help you become the best leader you can be. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to be considered as a guest in upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview and apply today. Now, let's get started.
Hi, welcome back to the Leader's Edge podcast. My name is Marisa McClure, and I am here today with Amy Hom, coming to us from Nashville, Tennessee. Amy is the COO of Barcelona Wine Bar. Thanks for being here, Amy. We're really excited to have you today.
Thanks for having me, Marisa.
All right, great. So we're going to dive right into some questions. So to get us started, give me a 90-second overview of your business and how you got into it.
Sure. In 90 seconds or less. Let's see. So at Barcelona Wine Bar, and we are all over the country, national business. You come in, you get yummy food from amazing chefs. We have an over 400 bottle wine list. You can find something from all over the world there. And it's all about the experience. It's if you're coming in and you want to laugh and you want to have a great time and you want to have the best food, we're your spot. So you come in and enjoy with your friends and family and make memories. How I got into the business, I was dropped off at a mall when I was a teenager and told I needed to get a job from a woman that took me in, and I ended up at Houlihan's in the Galleria, which a lot of folks know what that is from way back in the day. I'm aging myself, and I've been in the business ever since. It kind of hospitality gets in your blood. You're making you have the opportunity to make somebody's day and turn it around. So I thoroughly enjoy what I do, and I go into a party every night with amazing staff members, and you get to develop them and watch them grow while you're giving the guests a great experience. So it's a phenomenal business to be in.
Great. I love that. I love the idea of it being an experience, right? Because it is more than just going out and getting some food or some beverage. It's about the whole event. Yeah, I love that. Okay, great. So what would you say is the biggest problem that you see in your industry, and how are you solving that for yourself and for your team?
Biggest problem in the industry, I think, is a myth that both women and men with children, families, that the hours are too hard for them, that they can't make their career happen in our industry. And we're still the second largest employer in the country, besides the government, the hospitality sector. So when I see, just recently, a real story is we have a woman with us now, regional director, who's got a 2-year-old, and people are saying, well, are you going to be able to do it? Yes, she can do it. We need to support her, and we need to make sure she's got, the quality of time with her family, as well as contributing to the business and making sure that we provide that environment and culture. The industry took a big dip. I know I've talked about this before during COVID, lost a little sexiness. We were the first ones kind of lay a lot of people off and furlough them. And now we're at a point of, we need people in our industry that understand that they can go from being a server to a CEO. It's possible, or a CEO, or maybe they want to be a director, or maybe they want to be a professional server and have a career out of it. But there's so many different opportunities to learn and grow. So I sponsor and help oversee and lead a nonprofit that helps bring together the servers, the hourlies, entry-level management, emerging leaders into the business, and they get to connect with C-suite along the way. So we do some sessions around the country. We don't really charge much. It's more of them to come in, and we've seen some really great results out of that, where they understand that it's not just to come in to be an assistant manager at a chain, but it's to actually to learn and grow and get some skill sets so that you can lead larger groups and organizations and influence and impact the industry.
Yeah, I love that focus on mentoring, right? Because I think every industry needs that, because that's how we grow the future of our industry. So that's amazing. And your discussion about the challenge, I can definitely identify with. I was in the military for a long time, and it's a similar challenge, right?
Which, thank you for your service.
Thanks for saying that.
It's amazing how long you were in the service for as well, so.
Yes, and so it is a challenge at times, just because of the operational tempo and a lot of being away from home. But I was a single mom for about half of my career, and I made it work. So just like you were saying, there are ways that you can do it and still have the family life and the home life that you want. It's just about finding a way to sort of integrate the two things and make sure that you're giving as much as you can to both. And not making too many sacrifices for either. So, but there are ways, I think, like you said, to make that work. So I love that emphasis on helping people see.
It's work-life integration. When we were all growing up, I think it was work-life balance, and you heard that a lot. And now it's work-life integration. You can still go to dinner and and step away at times when you need to, depending on what level you are in the business, that you need to handle something that's going on, emergency that's happening with a team, or somebody needs to talk to you and walk through things. But there is a work-life balance, work-life integration. I also think that people that show up with grit make a difference. I'm a big fan of that book from Angela Duckworth, but it's, if you have the grit to do what you did, Marisa, with single mom in the service, you can make it happen. And you just have to have the right support around you, the right mentors and advocates, and you can have a thriving career and a thriving business, it's honestly whatever you want to do in the world. But there's folks that you come along, they have a lot of excuses, they don't take feedback well, they can't get themselves to the next level due to that. And you try to help them along, and then at some point you're really needing to focus on the A players in the business and grow them, because that's where the time needs to be spent. I think we still spend a lot of time sometimes on the ducks, as we call them, are folks that aren't really making the business better. So it's focusing on the A players and B players and getting them where they need to be and where they want to be.
Okay, so kind of getting back to your particular restaurant world, who's your ideal customer base, and what kind of outcomes should they expect when they visit one of your restaurants?
Customer ideal, I wouldn't say we have technically an ideal. You walk in and it's a multi-generation, very diverse group of individuals. You have young folks that are, college students coming up and out of college. You've got families that have been with us for generations. We've been around 20 plus years. And it's a very diverse, fun, energetic, vibrant. Music's up, tapas are coming out. We have amazing Spanish tapas where we take the chefs to Spain once a year to learn from the culinary aspect. You've got this world-renowned wine list that our amazing Gretchen Thomas puts together that has over 400 wines that are all, we just won best value in the world wine list. So sometimes people get the check and they're like, holy cow, we've not taken pricing like a lot of our peers in the industry. We still want people to come in and have a good time and be able to afford it and feel like they're having a 5-star experience, yet not getting hit upside the head with what the prices are these days. So the ideal guest is pretty much everyone. We have families, kids, singles, bachelorette parties, all the things, and they all fill the dining room and the bar, and we have bartenders sometimes standing on the bar doing Peroning with the guest. It just gets a little crazy and fun, and you leave, and if you were having a bad day and you leave a Barcelona wine bar, you're feeling much better. We're making sure we connect with you.
I love that, and I can't wait to check it out.
Come into Tampa. Come to visit us in Tampa.
One of the things I love about tapas is that it makes it like a social event because you can just try different things and you're all experimenting and sharing, and I just love that experience. So that sounds awesome. So, where do you see your industry going in the next 5 to 10 years, and how are you kind of staying on top of that?
That is a that is an interesting question. You see different parts doing different things. You'll see more in the QSR space or the fast casual space leaning a little bit more into technology and robots and that world. And I stay on top of that and what's going on with how they're doing that because of the labor pressures that everyone's facing. The industry is constantly pivoting, but where you see things tested like labor increases, uh, everyone has their own kind of view on that, but it also puts restaurants at high risk of shutting down and losing jobs. We just saw that in California. A lot of restaurant closures and bankruptcies in 2024 higher than normal. And then you have other segments that are doing really, really well. So people go out to eat exactly what you said before. They go out to eat to have a connection. They may live on their own. Right now, the single occupancy of folks living on their own is higher than it ever has been, along with mental illness, mental health. And people go sit alone and they'll eat and they just want to talk to somebody, whether it's a bartender, they go out and grab a salad and they're talking to the counter person. Just some type of engagement is important. So the leaders right now that I think are leaning in and doing it really well are supplementing the business with technology, but they're not turning it on fully, right? So the server doesn't become a robot to take an order. The robot may make the food, but the connection and the hospitality up front is still the most important. And I think we're going to see a big shift with all of this. It's happening, it's starting to happen, and it's going to continue to happen as restaurateurs and CEOs and board members are trying to figure out how to make their business thrive and work with higher costs when it comes to supply chain, all the things, commodity pricing. So we're all talking, we're all very well connected in the business, and we're constantly trying to figure different things out. And just because I learned something that wouldn't work for Barcelona Wine Bar doesn't mean I don't share it with other segments in the industry, because we also shift at times, so you never know where you're going to end up. But it's an interesting time for sure, and we're all staying pretty close on it. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody would have thought 5 years ago that we would be where we are in the restaurant space. And I don't know where we'll be in another 5 years, but I know at the end of the day, the restaurants that focus on hospitality will make it through.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds great. So, what would you say makes you unique in how you lead in this space?
Myself personally, my motto is easy on people, tough on standards. I expect a lot. I want to provide a culture where people thrive with excellence and they get rewarded for that and they get celebrated for that. On the other hand, I also want to know how your kids are doing, what's going on in your personal life that might need some adjustment at work so that I can understand how to be nimble and lean into that. But my style is, you know, I expect a lot, but I will give a lot. I'm very focused on development planning for any level in the field and in the restaurants. It's a time right now where I think leadership is extremely busy trying to figure out all the things we just spoke about, right? How to make the restaurant come out of what's going on around them, the shortages in staffing, all the things. And right now, if you're a leader that can lean into developing your team, building a really strong bench, getting to know your team on a professional, personal basis, they want to. I mean, we're people first. You get up because we want them to go to work because we want them to want to go to work. We want them to work for leaders that care. And a lot of folks right now are just checking the box and task oriented rather than slowing down and saying, hey, Marisa, how's your day going? We do heart checks on every meeting where I'll say, where are you at on a 1 to 5 today? How are you feeling? They'll let me know. If there are 2, sometimes I hang up the phone after that call and I'll call them back and say, tell me what's going on. you do have to give a little bit more in that area right now. We have a question of the day so that we're constantly learning stuff about each other. What's your favorite movie? This morning was what was your, best advice you got as a leader that you want to share so we can learn from each other. Sometimes it's what's your favorite video game? What do you put on your pizza? Do you like grape jelly or strawberry jelly? It's all the things. And so that is how we open up our calls since we're in much more of a virtual world rather than an office. That's our coffee space time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's just so important. And investing the time in knowing your people, really, being able to notice those little differences when something might be a little bit off so that you can address those, and taking the time to build relationship and to maintain and grow relationships, that is time well spent in any industry. But again, I see a lot of parallels, with the military and, enabling that work-life integration. Part of that is exactly what you're saying, that hands-on leadership, really trying to find ways to make it work for folks that are maybe in a tough time or struggling with that piece of it, and wanting to keep those solid workers in by finding ways to give them a little bit of grace when they need it, right? So I love that, and celebrating the good things, celebrating the accomplishments, and recognizing those. That's all really important for that retention as well.
There's so much
those,
good. Yeah,
folks.
there's so much good that teams do a lot of great work, and it can't go unnoticed. I think that's really important because it also motivates and inspires them to do more of it.
Absolutely. It feeds off of it. And other people see it and, oh, I want to feel that way too. And so they're going to maybe push a little harder to get there as well. But I love, the way you say, what was your motto?
Easy on people, tough on standards.
Love that. Okay. Yeah, one of my favorites is the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So
Yes.
it's important to have those high standards and make sure everyone knows what they are and hold them accountable to those, but also, like you're saying, giving a little bit of grace to folks when they're going through some challenges or need some additional support. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. You walk by trash on the floor, you just tell everybody it's okay to have trash on the floor. I mean, it's all the things.
Absolutely. It's those little things too, and you have to be consistent as a leader, because every time you let a little thing go, it turns into a bigger thing, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
it's a
100%.
constant effort. I think it's the same with parenting too. You have to be consistent with the rules, because as soon as you start to let it slide, it's going to get away from you really quickly. So
I
yeah.
agree. I agree.
All right. So what would you say is the biggest failure or challenge that you have faced, and how has that shaped the way you lead?
Biggest failure or challenge I have faced. I think something I'm always personally growing on is not judging near as fast and constantly seeking knowledge and asking questions. And sometimes I'll walk away, whether it's from a board meeting or it's from being in a restaurant or having a one-to-one with a server, and I'll say, oh, I should have asked that question, or I should have done that, so that I can constantly evolve. I don't get stuck in it, but I'll reflect for a few minutes, and then I'll go back and try to be a better leader with that. So I don't just walk out of the room and check the box. It's okay, what went well, what didn't go well, write it down. Okay, adjust, keep getting better. I remember I was getting out of a car when I was a general manager at the time, and I was touring with the CEO of a restaurant company that was 500 plus restaurants, and I said to the CEO, I didn't know why he was really touring with me, but now I know. But I said, why is it that some people move ahead in their careers and some don't? And he said, well, Amy, I only spend time with people that take feedback so they can get better. He goes, and if I give them feedback and they're not paying attention or listening or don't adjust, I don't invest anymore. And I appreciated that, because after that, I was always very keen on what feedback do you have for me? What do you need? What do I need to do more or less of? And not have the gremlins, the inner critics take over of, oh, I got that feedback, I must not have done that well. No, I did it. I can just do it better next time. And I think that that's probably it's a challenge every day, right? And it's something that I pay attention to. It doesn't mean that it's this bad thing. It's just something that I pay attention for as a challenge for myself to continuously, whether you're listening to a podcast or whatever. I think that feedback piece is probably one of the biggest things I've taken away in my career. And I'm so blessed that I got it early on, that I was spending time with him early on in my career, because I do think that that really helped me get to where I am.
Yeah, and I think it takes a lot of self-awareness and emotional intelligence to sort of understand the nuances there, because it's hard for anyone to take that feedback. Our first instinct is to sort of be defensive, and I think it takes time and practice and maturity and self-awareness and experience to be able to use that as a learning tool in a way, like you said, to make yourself better, rather than taking it as a criticism on its face and not using it to grow. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you get some stingy stuff sometimes. You're like, oh, that stung. Okay, what are we going to do about it? All right, and then 30 days, depending on what it was, I'll go back to leader and say, have I gotten better at that? Am I checking myself? And then I'll know, like, okay, I can move on, or I need to keep trucking along on it. But yeah, sometimes it
Yeah.
stings. Of course, we're human, but I do think leading, to your point, leading with EQ is much more important than leading with IQ right now. And I don't think that's ever going to change in my lifetime. So you got to lean in. You gotta be able to read the room and adjust your style to theirs. It's not about you as a leader. It's about you.
Exactly. I
It's
think
about
that was
them.
one of the hardest lessons I learned, is that it's not just one way. You have to know those people and know how they best receive that information, what approach is going to work best for that particular person. So having a boss that's yelling at you all the time, that might not have an impact on that particular person. I had a CEO once tell me, "I'm really disappointed. I expected better from you." And that crushed me worse than any yelling or screaming
That
ever.
is the one that crushes.
Yes. So, having that patience to, like you said, reflect. So rather than reacting, kind of thinking through, okay, what's the best approach here? What's going to be the most effective to get where I want to be and get this person where I want them to be, right? Bring out the best in them. So giving them the feedback without crushing them to where they're going to be hesitant to take that risk next time. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Agree.
Love that. Okay, so I know the answer to this question already, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I love the answer. If you could have lunch with one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I don't think there's one person that knows me that wouldn't answer that for me. Dolly Parton, of course. She, I mean, why wouldn't you? She is probably the most positive leader. Her business books are well written, and a lot of takeaways in those that I've used from tactics standpoint. She makes the world a better place. She spreads joy. She is tough on standards on her team. I've gone to Dollywood. I just recently was in Dreammore Hotel harassing her employees, asking if they had seen, I am that person, if they'd seen her. And the bartender says, yes, we weren't allowed to say hi. And then finally she said to everybody, why is no one speaking to me? And they said, because you stop in the hallway and you hold the agenda back, your schedule back, and you talk too long to people. And she said, well, I don't care about that. So now they're allowed to say hi and talk to her and do all the things. But when you look at somebody, her father wasn't able to read. And she started, the Imagination Library, where everybody in Tennessee and now other states gets a free book if you sign up. There's no questions asked till I think it's a book a month till you're 5 years old. Like all the things, and such a legacy. And she doesn't do politics. She just sticks to making people, better and the world kinder. And man, we'd all be in a much better spot if we had a bunch of dollies running around. So
Oh,
someday,
agreed. 100%,
someday,
yes.
if I
Yes.
don't meet her, there's gonna be hell to pay. But as of now, she's on my list, and she ignores me when we try. But
Well,
I've
you have
met the
time
dentist.
still.
I've met all the people in her life. I just have not met her.
Keep trying, because it's going to
Working
happen
on
for
it.
you, I'm sure. Yeah, you're
Who
right.
who
She's
is
a very,
yours? Who is yours? Who do you want
oh,
to? Who's yours?
gosh. Um, there's so many names flying through my head right now. I'm a big sports fan, so it would probably be one of my, sports people. I went to University of Florida, so
Okay.
I love Danny Warfel was the quarterback when I was in school, and he's just an awesome person who does so many positive things for his community and for the world. He's just always out there doing good for others. I have met him, but I would love to be able to actually sit down and have lunch.
Well,
And
now the challenge is you got to get him to come into Barcelona with you so you guys can have a dinner date.
He's
Yes.
in Florida quite a bit, so he doesn't live here, but he does come down to Florida. So maybe I'll work on that.
Yeah, get him to a Barcelona. I'll come and just
Perfect.
serve you guys and hang out.
Love that. Okay, sounds good. Okay, a couple more things. So, what is your next area of growth, whether it's for you personally or for your business?
Um, Next area of growth for the business is to focus on continuing the development of the pipeline with our teams and making sure we retain our top talent. Along with sales and all the things that you say when you're running a business. But the people there will make that happen. Personally, it's still the work-life integration, you know. It's how do stay connected with friends and family when you are living out of Marriott's quite a bit. In 2025, one of my goals is to black out more time on my calendar to have time for them rather than it's go, 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 back to back to back meetings. And I have a incredible CEO that I work with that is probably one of the more, he leans into, he's quite incredible. He's got this fine line of making sure you're doing your job, but also making sure that you're taking downtime. And that hasn't happened in years. And it's not that I've worked for poor CEOs. It's just interesting that he actually pauses and asks, and we're at the C-suite level, so we're expected, you're on all the time, but he'll say things like, all right, are you the type of person I actually have to put on vacation? And I'm like, no, I got it. But there's a message there, right? And so you have to set example for your team to make sure you're taking downtime and shutting it off so that they can. Everything will be here tomorrow. But I think that's always a challenge when especially when you're a COO in operations, because you do need to be in the restaurants. We are spread out all over the country. You got to travel. And I love that part, but I also need to make sure I'm checking in with the friends and family a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely get that. The leading by example is really important. I definitely noticed that, I worked real hard, I worked long hours, and I eventually noticed as a commander that I'm looking around and everyone else is still at work because I'm still at work.
They're
And
watching.
they feel like they have to stay until I leave. So it's like, okay, maybe I bring a little bit of work home, but I need to depart so that I'm setting the example that I have some boundaries and, I need my downtime too. And I really learned the term self-care for the first time when I was running a prison. I had never really given myself that grace before, and I was like, I actually do need to practice this, not just for me, and believe me, I needed it for me, but I also needed to do it to set that example for everyone else around me. And I think it is a constant battle to try to find that right balance, but it's worth it's worth putting the time into thinking about it and making it happen. And maybe someday I'll figure out the secret to getting it in the right place.
I don't
and
know if
keeping it there,
anybody's
but
figured it out. I think it goes, what I have noticed is that if I plan something with my husband or I'm planning something with the kids, we need to always have something to look forward to. That's one thing I've figured out is, okay, if we don't have anything on the books that I know when I'm going to see you guys or we're going to meet in this city, there's a little bit of gray clouds going on. But if it's like, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm going to see you in Nashville or in Florida or wherever we all are, then I think that you always have something to look forward to, whether it's a vacation or a getaway. I do think planning is a big part of it and sitting down and saying, what dates do you have open? What's going on? What days and times can I call you? I don't want it to always be like that because I do think ad hoc calls from my daughter, it's when you look at your phone, you're like, oh my God, Taylor's calling. But at the same time, still got to plan some of it out. So, if you find the secret, let me know. I'm sure
all
you
right,
make a
I'll
big
definitely
seller
you'll be the
selling
first
that.
person I call. So
Keep me posted. We should
All
call
right.
Dolly. She may know.
I bet she has a pretty good answer to that. Yeah,
I
would
think
guess.
she does.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you get that meeting with her, then you can ask.
There you go. I pray so.
All right. So, what is the best way for people to connect with you or to learn more about your restaurant? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so barcelonawinebar.com. We're on Instagram. We're on I'm on LinkedIn. Barcelona's on LinkedIn. Adam Hallberg, our CEO, is on LinkedIn. All the people. And we also run the Lead nonprofit, so we're on LinkedIn with that. We've got a lot of volunteers that help with that are across all different restaurant chains, but also or groups, but also some people run their own business or consultants. They run catering. They're running mentoring programs. So we have a large spread of folks that kind of help each other out in different ways, along with producing the Lead events. So there's a million and one ways to connect these days. So I'm always open for helping and mentoring, and I get a lot of mentoring myself. So it's a two-way street. But yeah, absolutely reach out. Check us out.
Sounds great. Love it. Okay, well, I'm definitely going to come check out the new Barcelona Wine Bar that just opened in Tampa. So very much looking forward to that. And thank you so much for being here today, Amy, and talking to us about your work.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Leader's Edge Hot Take Series. I hope you found today's insight meaningful, valuable, and that you're ready to put them into action. Now, if you enjoyed the episode and want to keep improving your leaderships, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I post new content every week, packed with strategies, tips, and real-life examples to help you lead with impact. And remember, great leadership isn't just about guiding others, it's about continuously growing yourself. If you'd like to be considered as a guest for upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview to apply today. Keep pushing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode. Be awesome.